I love seeing people expand their talents, man. I'm 100% behind this. Except when I looked at this. I looked at this and 10 minutes in, I'm like, I said out loud, what the see it? People, again, speaking for myself, Martin's gonna step up in a minute, but I looked at this and I thought, man, this is the white autistic version of radio.
What exactly is wrong with it?
He the same as everybody else, just a little slower than most.
You know, people, this, for me, and this is before I read anything on this movie. This because it was just sent to us. And Kevin King, our producer, he said, hey, you got this movie music. And I was like, all right, what is that? I'll pull it up. Let me see. And I think, oh, it's that movie from Sid. And I was like, okay, cool, man. I watched this and I started watching it from the get. I was like, what the is this that we're watching right here, man? What, girl, you can't do this right here. You got this all wrong. I mean, I respect what you try to do, but this shit is all completely wrong. People, what we're looking at is the stereotypical version of autism. You know, we're talking about buck eyes, top jaw hanging out, the whole hitting your head thing, you know, doing all that. And if you do that, that is, if Robert Downey Jr. was here right now, he said you went full autistic with this, because this is, we know that there are people out there that have that condition. But the problem is that people who don't understand autism, that's the stereotype that they go to. Just like when people have stereotypes for everything, they exist. But that's you know, for people who don't understand, they go to those stereotypes. It's just like when people talk about the Millie Challenge and they go like, you know, this, that kind of thing. I looked at this and I was like, I told you this before I saw any controversy about this. I was just saying, I ain't ready to like pick up torches and go against this movie. And there's some things in here that I would definitely compliment in a little while. But I definitely I had to say that when I first saw what they were doing from the very beginning, I was like, man, I don't know. I think this is kind of misguided just a little bit. Maybe this little should have been thought out just a little bit more before we got into it that deep. Martin, what do you think?
Well, it definitely could have it could have possibly sidestepped controvery had she been, you know, maybe a little bit more on the other side of the spectrum. Yeah. But at the same time, just the way it started out was, I don't know, I thought it was soft enough where I was like, okay, this girl has it like that. And it was one of those things where even though I initially went, I was like, well, let's think about it. I've known plenty of people on the spectrum, and I've known actually like a lot of people who have been at the point where she is. So I was like, well, that's cool. They actually got an autistic girl to do this. And of course, once the music video breaks out and she's not doing it, I was like, oh, okay. But it seems like a lot, but at the same time, I was like, well, you could never get someone who was actually at that point to be in a movie. And they did try. They initially cast somebody and it just didn't work out. The girl couldn't handle it. Yeah.
I just, you know, like I said, man, it's when we look at, I keep going to the examples, when we look at radio, you know, this is the thing where this is, when people try to like represent certain conditions, I just have a problem when people go to the extremes or the stereotypes of it, especially when the person's not that. Because what's her name, Maddie Ziegler?
Maddie Ziegler.
Yeah, she's a dancer and she's an actress and she's very talented. Don't get me wrong about that. I'm not trying to blame anybody for what they're doing.
I didn't have a problem with her. I thought she did a good job of switching back and forth.
I didn't have a problem with her. I have a problem with the portrayal. People, like I said, them buck teeth and them bug eyes, and it's when they get into the musical numbers is when it really stood out to me. I was like, all right, man, this is really what you're basing autism on. There are so many spectrums of autism out there where we don't have to go to this level. Just like we show Millie Challenge people from back in the 90s. All of it was just kind of, you know, and then people wanted to get Oscars for that shit. And they wanted to play like, you know, limited language, limited mental skills and vocal skills. And this is jumping that same stereotype. I'm telling you, when they get to that, when it opens with that musical number, I was like, shit. I'm getting a little hot under the collar because I don't know we should be going here with this. It was almost like, you know what, I want this extreme form of autism because it would make cool dance moves in a way, at least the way I saw it. I was
she only did that with that dance number. It wasn't at least in the dance numbers. It wasn't always like that.
No, she did it later too.
Like,
I saw it. No, she did, because I was like, I was looking at it, I was like, is she going to do this again? And she did. There was at least one other dance number where she did that.
Okay, but there's tons of dance numbers, and that wasn't always a thing. It's like at that point I was like, all right, maybe this is part of the dance number, because if you're saying this is the girl actually like this is clownish.
Well, my problem is that one, Maddie Ziegler, she says she studied autistic people, and I'm reading this, so I don't know, but she was studying autistic people who were losing their shit and throwing tantrums and you know, and were going off. And I was like, all right. My problem is that right now, at this moment, this is all the time. This is the version of autistic people that we see. This is the portrayal of autistic people that we see, and it's still limited. And we don't see different versions of autism out there. It always goes to this. And that's a little bit of a problem for me. It always goes to, like, you know, we get into representation. We've been hearing autistic people saying this is not the thing that autism is. And that's when I first saw that. I was like, oh, we're going to this level right here. There are so many spectrums of autism, but it seems like this is the one that gets attention. This is the one that's the most dramatic.